At 70, the woman cheated on her loving husband with a painter and refused to feel guilty about it or give up her secret life. Ever spent 25 years building a life with a man, brick by brick, only to torch it all for a stranger's touch at 70? Picture this. She's got silver hair, a steady husband, and a garden out back. Then bam, she's sneaking off to a leather-jacketed bad boy who makes her feel 30 again. What if she's still kissing her man goodnight, all sweet and soft, while her heart's racing for someone else? That's where this story kicks off, and it's a freight train ready to slam into your chest. Hey fam, welcome to this wild ride. It's raw, it's real, and it's gonna hit you square. This ain't your grandma's story, except, hell, it kinda is. We're diving into betrayal, fire, and a woman rewriting her own damn rules. You're not just reading this, you're feeling it, bones and all. Stick with me, because this one's got teeth. Meet Ellen. She's 70, a retired nurse with a sharp smile and a frame that still turns heads. Her husband's Tom, 59, 11 years her junior. A kind-eyed guy who's been her rock for 25 years. He's the type who fixes the sink without asking, brings her tea when she's tired, and laughs at her bad jokes. They've got a cozy life in a little house with a porch swing and a backyard full of roses she tends like they're her babies. Ellen's the picture of a faithful wife, until she isn't. She's about to flip the script, going from quiet devotion to a secret rebellion that'll blindside you. This isn't a slow fade. It's a spark that catches and burns everything she thought she knew. Let's set the scene. It's a crisp Saturday morning, early fall, the kind where the air smells like leaves and coffee. Ellen's in the kitchen, sunlight spilling through the window, warming her hands as she pours Tom a second cup. He's at the table, flipping through the paper, humming some old tune she can't place. She slides the mug over, her fingers brushing his, and he looks up with that goofy grin she's seen a million times. "You're too good to me, Elle," he says, voice warm as the brew. She smiles back, soft and automatic, her silver hair catching the light. That's the peak. Her life with Tom, steady as a heartbeat, safe as a locked door. They've got 25 years of this, quiet mornings, shared dinners, his arm around her on the couch. It's not perfect, but it's theirs, or it was, until the cliff drops out from under her. Because here's the kicker. Ellen's got a secret brewing, one that's been simmering for 3 years now. It didn't start loud, no sirens, no fights. It crept in soft, like a whisper she couldn't shake. She's been faithful to Tom since the day they said "I do" at 46, when she picked him as the safe bet after a lifetime of short, messy flings. He was younger, solid, the guy who'd never leave her stranded. She settled, sure, but it worked until it didn't. 25 years of marriage, and she's still in love with him, or so she tells herself. But love's a funny thing. It can sit there, warm and familiar, while something else claws its way up inside you. That something else has a name, Jack. He's 64, a painter with gray eyes that cut through you and a smirk that promises trouble. They met at an art show, Ellen in a navy dress, sipping wine, Tom off chatting with some old buddy. Jack slid up, all charm and leather, pointing at a canvas like it was a secret just for her. "What's a woman like you see in this mess?" he asked, voice low and rough. She laughed, caught off guard, and that was it, the spark. An email about books followed, then late-night talks, then meetups that turned into something she can't unfeel. 3 years later, she's got Tom at home and Jack in the shadows, and she's not sorry. Not yet. This isn't about a woman falling apart. It's about one waking up, grabbing life by the throat and daring it to blink first. Ellen's not some fragile old lady fading into the background. She's steel under that soft smile, fire behind those steady hands. She's about to take you on a ride from love to chaos, to a rise you'll feel in your gut. Tom's her anchor, Jack's her flame, and she's juggling both like a pro. You think 70 means done? Think again. This story's got betrayal, guts, and a twist that'll leave you reeling. Buckle up. Ellen's just getting started. Ellen wasn't looking for a detonation. At 70, she figured her story was mostly written. 25 years with Tom. A cozy little life carved out in a house with creaky floors and a fridge full of leftovers. She'd married him at 46, after a string of guys who'd burned bright and fizzled fast. Tom was different, 11 years younger, steady as a heartbeat, with hands that fixed things and a laugh that softened the edges of her days. He wasn't the wild passion she'd chased in her 30s, but he was safe, reliable, the kind of man who'd stick around when the world got messy. She'd settled, sure, but it felt like a win back then. Society stopped whispering spinster behind her back, and she got a partner who'd never make her wonder where he was at night. Their life together was a rhythm she knew by heart. Mornings started with coffee, Tom grinding beans while she sliced apples for breakfast. Sundays were for dinners with neighbors, her lasagna steaming on the table while he poured cheap wine and cracked dumb jokes. Evenings meant the couch, her feet in his lap, some old movie flickering on the TV. 25 years of this, and it was good. Maybe not fireworks, but a warm glow she could count on. She'd catch him grinning at her across the kitchen, that boyish smile that hadn't faded, and think, this is enough, this is mine. Her garden bloomed out back, roses, daisies, a little chaos she tamed with her own hands, and Tom would tease her about talking to the plants like they were kids. "You're too good at this, Elle," he'd say, and she'd roll her eyes but feel the warmth settle in her chest. She'd been a nurse for 30 years before retiring, patching up broken bodies and soothing scared families. Tom was her soft landing after all that, her reward for a life of giving. At 46, she'd picked him because he was the opposite of the men who'd left her stranded. The bartender who ghosted her after 3 months, the salesman who'd promised forever and then split with her savings. Tom was younger, sure, but he had a quiet strength, a kindness that didn't demand anything back. She'd walked down the aisle in a simple white dress, his hand steady in hers, and thought, this is it, my shot at real. For 25 years it was, until it wasn't. The shift came soft, sneaky, like a breeze you don't notice until it's rattling the windows. It was a Thursday night, an art show downtown, Tom's idea, because he knew she liked pretty things. She'd slipped into a navy dress that hugged her still decent curves, dabbed on some rose perfume, and let him tug her out the door. The gallery was small, packed with people sipping wine and nodding at abstract blobs on canvas. Tom wandered off to chat with an old co-worker, leaving Ellen by a painting that looked like a storm caught in oil. Dark swirls, red streaks, chaos she couldn't look away from. That's when he slid up next to her. Jack, 64, leather jacket creaking as he moved, gray eyes sharp enough to cut glass. He had a painter's hands, rough, stained with flecks of blue, and a smirk that said he knew things she didn't. What's a woman like you see in this mess? He asked, voice low and gravelly, like he'd smoked too much and didn't care. She laughed, caught off guard, her wineglass trembling in her hand. I don't know, maybe it's alive, she said, and his smirk widened. You're right, it's got a pulse. He didn't hover, didn't push, just handed her a card with his name scribbled on it and drifted off into the crowd. She tucked it in her purse, heart thumping a little too hard, and told herself it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing. A week later, an email pinged her inbox. Hey, Ellen, Jack from the gallery. You ever read Rothko's bio? Figured you'd get it. She stared at the screen, Tom snoring softly in the next room, and typed back before she could think too hard. Not yet. Should I? That was the crack. The first splinter in the life she'd built. Emails turned into late-night chats, his words sharp and alive, pulling her in like a tide. You've got a fire in you, he wrote once, buried under all that quiet. She read it 3 times, cheeks flushing, a thrill snaking up her spine. Fire! She hadn't felt that in decades. Then came the meetups. Coffee first, at a little place with chipped mugs and too loud music. He leaned across the table, gray eyes locked on hers, talking about art and life like he was daring her to keep up. She did. God, she did. And it felt like waking up. Her hands shook, pouring cream, but her voice stayed steady, matching his edge. Coffee turned into walks, then drives in his beat-up Chevy, the kind of car Tom would have called a junker. Jack didn't care. He drove fast, windows down, her hair whipping in the wind. She'd laugh, loud and free, and he'd glance over with that smirk, like he'd known all along she'd come alive for him. Inside, she was a mess of wonder and want. This is crazy, she'd think, lying awake next to Tom, steady breathing. But damn, I feel young. Her heart was wide open, racing for Jack in a way it hadn't for Tom in years, maybe ever. She'd catch herself grinning in the mirror, smoothing her silver hair, feeling the weight of 70 lift off her shoulders. 25 years with Tom had been a slow burn, a comfort she'd leaned into. But Jack? He was a flare, bright, hot, reckless, and she couldn't look away. The cracks didn't whisper anymore. They roared, and Ellen was listening. Ellen didn't see the storm coming. She'd been too busy chasing the lightning. For months, Jack had been her secret high, a jolt that made her 70-year-old bones feel electric. Coffee dates turned into late afternoons at his studio, a cluttered loft downtown where paint cans littered the floor and canvases leaned against cracked walls. She'd sit on a stool, watching him work. Broad strokes, wild colors, his hands moving like they knew her better than she knew herself. Then came the day he set the brush down, crossed the room, and kissed her. Hard. Paint-stained fingers tangled in her silver hair, her pulse hammering so loud she swore he could hear it. That was the plunge. No going back, just free fall. She'd stumble home after, cheeks flushed, Jack's cologne clinging to her skin like a ghost. Tom would be there, same as always, shuffling around the kitchen, brewing tea, his voice soft as he asked, "Good day, Elle?" She'd nod, forcing a smile, the lie bitter on her tongue. "Yeah, just ran some errands." Her phone stayed face down now, locked tight, a vault of texts she couldn't let him see. "Missed you today," Jack would write, or "That navy dress still haunts me." She'd read them in the bathroom, door shut, heart tripping over itself. Red flags flared. Her excuses got flimsy. Her eyes darted too quick when Tom asked where she'd been. "Book club ran late," she'd say, or "Traffic was a mess." He'd nod, trusting, pouring her tea like nothing was off. But her gut twisted. She knew she was slipping. Doubt started gnawing, sharp and relentless. She'd lie awake next to Tom, his snores steady while her mind churned. Am I cheating? Or just waking up? The question clawed at her, but Jack's voice drowned it out, low, rough, pulling her back to that studio kiss. Guilt stabbed, hot and quick, but it wasn't enough to stop her. She'd see Tom's face in the morning, kind eyes, that goofy grin, and feel a pang, a tether to 25 years she couldn't cut. Yet by noon, she'd be texting Jack, planning the next meetup, her skin buzzing for his touch. She was clinging to ghosts, her old life with Tom, the woman she'd been, while chasing something new that burned too bright to ignore. The cracks widened. She'd snap at Tom over nothing, burnt toast, a spilled mug, her patience fraying as the lies piled up. He'd blink, confused, then shrug it off, too good to push back. She hated that goodness sometimes, how it made her feel small, dirty. Her phone buzzed one night while they watched TV. Jack, reckless, texting studios empty. "Come over." She fumbled it under a pillow, heat crawling up her neck. Tom glanced over, brow furrowed. "Everything okay?" She forced a laugh, too sharp. "Just spam, junk mail." He nodded, eyes back on the screen, but her hands shook, pouring wine after. She was drowning in it, the thrill, the shame, the split down her middle. Then came the gut punch. Late one Thursday, she'd left her phone on the counter, careless, stupid. It buzzed while she was in the shower, and Tom, sweet Tom, picked it up to silence it. She walked out, towel-wrapped, hair dripping, and saw his face, pale, eyes wide, the screen glowing in his hand. "Elle," he said, voice cracking, "who's Jim Rat?" Her stomach dropped, ice flooding her veins. She'd saved Jack under a fake name, a dumb joke from his stories about lifting weights. The text on display read, "Jake's a joke. Meet me tonight." She froze, water pooling at her feet, brain scrambling. "It's nothing," she blurted, snatching the phone. "Just a friend messing around." And Tom stared, hurt, flickering in those kind eyes, but he didn't push. "Okay," he said, quiet, turning back to the sink. She wanted to scream, to confess, to beg, but she didn't. She locked the phone tighter after that, password changed, her secret clawing to stay buried. 3 years in, the lies were a second skin. She'd tell Tom she was at the library, then drive to Jack's, her hands steady on the wheel, but her insides a storm. They'd tangle up in his loft, sweaty, urgent, her body waking up in ways she'd forgotten, and she'd leave with paint smudged on her wrist, a mark she'd scrub off before home. She'd sit across from Tom at dinner, his fork scraping the plate, and think, he doesn't know, he can't. But he felt it, something off, a shadow in her eyes. "You okay, Elle?" he asked one night, voice soft over the hum of the dishwasher. "You seem distant." Her chest tightened, a war drum pounding. "I'm fine," she snapped, sharper than she meant, then softened it with a smile. "Just tired." He nodded, but his hand lingered on hers, a beat too long, searching. She pulled away, guilt roaring, Jack's smirk flashing in her mind. The climax hit on a rainy Tuesday. She'd been with Jack all afternoon, his hands, his heat, her laugh echoing off the loft walls. She came home late, soaked, lipstick smudged, and Tom was waiting. Not mad, just there in the kitchen, a cup of tea cold on the counter. "Where were you, Elle?" he asked, voice low, cracking at the edges. She froze, rain dripping onto the tile, her story unraveling. "Book club," she said, but it sounded hollow, a lie even she couldn't buy. He stepped closer, eyes searching hers. "Explain," he said, not loud, just raw. She snapped, defenses up, voice shaking. "I'm fine, Tom, stop hovering." But he didn't back off. He just looked, hurt and steady, and she saw it. He knew. Not the details, not Jack, but the distance, the fracture. "You're not fine," he said, quiet, and turned away. Her world burned that night. She locked herself in the bathroom, staring at the mirror. Silver hair wild, eyes bright with something she couldn't name. Rage flooded her. 25 years with Tom torched by her own hands. 3 years with Jack, a fire she couldn't quench. She was shaking, fists clenched, heart a war drum beating out both men's names. Tom was her anchor, her safe shore, and she loved him. God, she did. But Jack was the storm, the chaos she craved. She'd split herself down the middle, and the pieces were crashing. Guilt screamed, but the thrill roared louder, and Ellen, 70, fierce, unmoored, didn't know which way to fall. Ellen didn't crumble. She snapped into focus. That rainy night in the bathroom, staring down her wild-eyed reflection, something clicked. 70 years old, silver hair dripping, heart still hammering from Tom's quiet, "You're not fine," and she decided, no more hiding. She wasn't the fragile wife, the guilty cheat. She was alive, bold, and done apologizing. Jack wasn't her shame anymore. He was her fuel, a fire she'd stoked for 3 years. Tom was still her anchor, but she wasn't drowning for him either. She'd been split down the middle, sure, but now she'd weld the pieces into something stronger. Weak? Nah, she was steel now, and she'd forge her own damn path. The shift wasn't loud, no grand speeches, no slamming doors. It was quiet, deliberate, a queen claiming her throne. She stood taller the next morning, pouring Tom's coffee with steady hands, her smile real for the first time in months. He looked at her, wary from the night before, but she met his eyes, calm, unshaken. "I'm good, Tom," she said, soft but firm, and he nodded, hesitant, like he believed her because he wanted to. She didn't confess, didn't beg forgiveness. She owned it, all of it, and let the guilt shrink to a whisper. Jack's texts, still buzzed in her pocket. Missed you last night, and she didn't flinch. This was her game now, and she'd play it her way. Action unfolded fast. She leaned into the mirror one day, tracing the lines on her face, deep, earned, but still hers. Jack's voice echoed, "You're gorgeous, Ellen." She smirked, booked a salon appointment, and dyed her silver hair a sharper platinum, strands gleaming like a blade. Botox came next, a quick jab, a tighter jawline, because why not? She felt it, that vibrancy he saw, and she'd damn well show it. Tom noticed, raised an eyebrow over breakfast. "Looking fancy, Elle," he said, half teasing. She laughed, light and free. Just felt like it. He grinned, oblivious, and she let him. The attention wasn't just Jack's anymore, it was hers, reclaimed, a pride she hadn't felt since her nursing days. The marriage twisted in ways she didn't expect. Tom sensed her spark, her energy, her edge, and it lit something in him too. One night, he pulled her close on the couch, hands tentative but warm, and she didn't pull away. They kissed, slow at first, then hungry, a heat she'd forgotten they could find. 25 years, and it was new again, her affairs chaos, bleeding into their bed, waking them both up. She didn't tell him why, didn't confess Jack's role, but she rode the wave. Tom's touch was steady, familiar, a shore she could always return to. Jack was the storm, wild and reckless, and she craved that too. Juggling both wasn't a burden, it was her triumph, a tightrope she walked with a grin. Jack stayed her edge, her secret blade. He was a hustler, small-time art scams, shady deals, and she knew it, saw the cracks in his charm. He'd brag about flipping a fake canvas for cash, laughing over cheap whiskey in his loft, and she'd sip hers unfazed. His chaos excited her, the leather, the smirk, the way he'd pin her against the wall like time didn't exist. 3 years in, she didn't care about his flaws. She wasn't marrying him, wasn't fixing him. He was her rebellion, her pulse, and she'd take what she wanted. "Your trouble?" she'd tease, and he'd grin, "And you love it." She did, God, she did, and it fueled her rise. Payback came subtle, not vengeful. She didn't dump Tom or Jack, didn't torch either life. She rewrote the rules instead. No victim here, no broken wife. She was the queen, crown invisible but heavy. Tom stayed her rock, Jack her flame, and she held them both in her hands. She'd garden with Tom on weekends, dirt under her nails, his laugh warming the air, then slip off to Jack's studio midweek, paint smudging her skin as she laughed into his kiss. Guilt? Sure, it flickered. Tom's trust, Jack's recklessness, but the thrill roared louder, a song she couldn't mute. She was vibrant now, alive in a way 70 wasn't supposed to feel, and she'd fight anyone who said otherwise. The real rise showed in the details. She started sketching again. Nursing had killed that hobby years ago, but Jack's art dragged it back. She'd sit in her kitchen, pencil flying over paper, Tom humming in the next room, and feel untouchable. Her roses bloomed fiercer that spring, like they knew she'd stopped fading. Jack's loft became her second canvas, her laugh, her touch, her fire marking the space as much as his paint. She'd drive home after, windows down, wind whipping her platinum hair, and catch her reflection in the rear view. Sharp, bold, a woman who'd bent the game and won. Then Jack's chaos caught up. She'd always known it might. His scams weren't subtle, his luck too thin. One night, he didn't text back. Next morning, the news hit. Cops raided his place, fake art busted, cuffs on his wrists. She saw it on TV, Tom flipping channels beside her, oblivious. "Rough day for that guy," he muttered, and she nodded, sipping her tea, calm as glass. Jack was gone, exit stage left, and she didn't blink. He'd been her spark, not her soul, and she'd keep burning without him. Tom reached for her hand, squeezing light, and she squeezed back, steady. She didn't need Jack to shine. She'd taken his fire and made it hers. Ellen was untouchable now. No begging, no regrets, just reborn. 70 and fierce, she'd turned ashes to iron, guilt to grit. Tom's quiet love anchored her. Jack's wild heat had forged her, and she stood taller for it. She'd garden in the morning, sketch at noon, and sleep beside Tom at night, her secrets locked tight, her power humming beneath. This wasn't a fall. It was a rise, a woman grabbing life by the throat and daring it to flinch. She'd split herself once, sure, but now she was whole. Steel, fire, and all hers. Ellen's world didn't collapse. It hardened, sharpened, bloomed into something unbreakable. At 70, she stood in her kitchen, platinum hair catching the morning light, pouring Tom's coffee with hands that didn't shake. 25 years with him, steady as the roses out back, and she still loved him. His goofy grin, his quiet strength, the way he'd hum off-key while fixing the sink. Jack was gone. 3 years of fire snuffed out by a jail cell, but she didn't dim. She'd taken his heat, forged it into her own, and now she shone brighter, vibrant, free, a queen who'd played both sides and won. Tom rode shotgun in her life, clueless but content, and she liked it that way. This wasn't a wreck, it was a triumph. The outcome stacked up clean. Tom stayed her anchor, the safe shore she'd chosen at 46, and never fully left. He didn't know about Jack, didn't need to, and she kept it locked tight, a secret that fueled her instead of breaking her. Their marriage had a new pulse now, Sparked by her own rebellion, he'd pull her close some nights, hands warm and searching, and she'd meet him there, alive in a way she hadn't been before. Jack's exit didn't touch that. It just cleared the air. She'd see his smirk on the news, cuffed and grinning like he'd planned it, and sip her tea, unmoved. Dumb bastard, she'd mutter, and flip the channel. He'd been her flair, not her foundation, and she'd outgrown him without a backward glance. She thrived in the aftermath. The garden burst with color, roses redder, daisies wilder, like they knew she'd stopped fading. She'd sketch in the afternoons, pencil flying over paper, Tom's voice drifting from the next room, and feel the weight of 70 lift off her shoulders. No texts buzzed her phone now, no late-night drives, but she didn't miss them. Jack's chaos had lit her up, sure, but she'd taken the torch and run with it. Tom saw it too, her edge, her glow, and he'd grin across the table, saying, "You're something else, Elle." She'd laugh, sharp and real, because damn right she was. She wasn't broke, wasn't begging. She was living, untouchable, her bank of self-worth overflowing. Jack's cage was the twist that sealed it. She hadn't tipped the cops, didn't need to, but she'd known his hustle would crash someday. 3 years of paint and whiskey, and he'd painted himself into a corner. She'd watched the raid on TV, Tom beside her, oblivious, muttering about crooks getting what they deserve. She'd nodded, calm, her hand steady on his. Checkmate, Jack. Your move got you locked up, and I'm still free. She didn't gloat, didn't text him some petty goodbye. He was dust now, a chapter closed, and she was the one still standing. Here's the core truth. Age doesn't kill desire. You do, if you let it. Ellen didn't. 70 wasn't a fade-out. It was her stage, and she owned it. Loyalty's a choice, sure, but so is living, and sometimes they clash like thunder. She picked her poison, Tom's quiet love, Jack's wild heat, and drank deep from both. You're not your husband's shadow or your lover's toy. You're you, and you damn well better know your worth. Ellen spotted the snakes, danced with one, cut the other loose, and rose alone. That's power. Raw and real. She didn't bend for anyone, didn't break under the weight. She rewrote the rules and won the game. Respect to Ellen, 70 and fearless, turning dust to diamonds. Tom's her rock, Jack was her match, but she's the fire, the board, the whole damn play. She didn't beg forgiveness or wallow in regret. She grabbed life by the throat and made it hers. Some stories don't need sequels, they just need an ending, and hers is ironclad. She gardens with Tom, sketches her days, and sleeps with secrets that don't haunt her. Jack's in a cell, Tom's in her bed, and she's in charge. Platinum hair gleaming, eyes sharp with a truth no one else needs to know. This is her rise, her flame, and it's still burning. Love this ride? Hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell. Don't miss the next one. Drop a comment below. What's your take on Ellen's play? Thanks for sticking with me, fam. Catch you soon.